Scotty B yesterday, after our group call yesterday, was on the news, and he mentioned that the goal is economic collapse of the Islamic Republic. So he mentioned a couple of other details that were important. He mentioned that he doesn't understand why oil prices went up, even though they're still technically low, like is they're still under 90, but they went up a little bit. And he said he expressed that he doesn't understand it because he specifically mentioned that uh, the White House putting using this strategy against Islamic Republic, meaning that putting them under heavy economic isolation, is basically means that they're not going to be doing military operations for the foreseeable future, which means that the oil prices should have gone down when they saw that the White House is just doubling down on the strategy of putting extreme pressure on the Islamic Republic, right? Um, but they went up. So he said that doesn't make any sense. He also confirmed that this is just for now. Like it doesn't mean that they're not going to go back to military operations. Or said your mic is open. Um, all right, and but the most important part of it was that uh, he mentioned that this is going to make the Islamic Republic eventually collapse, and that's basically communicated. I don't remember the exact words, but he basically everybody is reacting to somebody from the Trump administration um, laying down the goal of the regime collapse being, because a lot of people falsely say that President Trump uh, made it clear that regime change is the goal of their operations, and he never said that. And anybody who says that President Trump said that basically tried to interpret his words in a way that suggests that he meant that, but he never directly say that. But this is the first time somebody from the, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you could correct me, somebody from the Trump administration is talking about regime collapse in a way that it seems like it's a goal. So that's a big deal. And then we also had I did want to go through what they're doing, right? So let me see. So this is a operation. They're calling it Economic D-Day, um, targeting the regime. The UAE officially suspended all trade and financial dealings with the Islamic Republic, which is very significant because that's 1/3 of their imports comes through the UAE. And there was they also sanctioned a major Turkish cash couriers and Iranian shadow networks, and there were secondary sanctions on other countries against Chinese teapot refineries. And that's these are smaller refineries that the Islamic Republic uses. And there were so the big next move that everybody is looking to see whether it's going to happen or not is move towards China. Give me a second. All right, there we go. I'm back. I got frozen for two.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Yeah, I'm back now. I think I'm back. Let me.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so I'm gonna close Claude Code. Hold on, let me close it. All right, so Claude Code was using my computer, so I'm just gonna close this so that doesn't happen again. But anyways, I'm gonna stop talking. Do we even have any twos in the chat? I see a whole bunch of ones in the chat. I don't think there's any twos in the chat regarding this. Regarding
No
the
twos.
no twos. Okay, so nobody wants to. Said, do you have any opinions about this? Because I know you guys we talked about this already on the show. If there's if there's no interest on talking more about, oh, there we go, Monkey's going to talk about
Monkey, it's on. It's up to it's you. It's you next.
it. Yeah, there you go.
I think that if it does not go down as much as expected, is that an indicator that there's more of this they call teapot refineries than expected? Like, okay, if we do this economic news, does that mean that more aligned entities aren't able to process, and that's going into the calculation? I think that could be important. I also think that more direct signaling towards a collapse even though it is implied, being it directly stated is a kind of a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, so the refineries are easier to hit because I mean they're easy and they're easy in one way and they're hard in another way. They're easy because when United States goes after them, these are like separate companies that are not, obviously everything in China is connected to the CCP, but because they're smaller, it's not going to make China really angry. So that's what makes it easier. What makes it harder is that there's always ways to these companies have become really experts at every time there's their path is closed by United States, they find another way around it, right? So the big players to hit are giant Chinese companies that somehow everything eventually connects to them, both the refinery and also the major banks that are in China making this possible. And these companies are so big that if United States wants to go after them, it's going to make China very, very angry. And then there's going to be a pushback from China, and then United States will probably pay a price for that economically. And so we have to see, if we get UAE and China stopping to doing deals with the Islamic Republic, it would be basically people argue that it would be game over, because UAE was basically a major part of the import export, meaning that the Islamic Republic now has a very limited access to goods and services. China is the main source of foreign currency, right? uh, and basically both of these are needed for the isolation to be complete. Right now the isolation is close to complete, but it's not complete because China is still allowing the Islamic Republic to gain access to foreign currencies. So regarding your question, Monkey, I looked this up because, yeah, so Chinese teapot refineries has historically processed up to 90% of oil exported by the regime in Iran. Major state-owned oil corporations refuse to purchase Iranian crude due to secondary sanctions. Other players consist of shadow fleet operators, offshore blending hubs, and niche barter partners. Chinese teapots began actively shifting to alternative crude supplies as of August 2022. Without teapot demand, the Islamic Republic faces severe production shut-ins and revenue collapse. I don't know if that answers the question.
Well, it indicates that it's the Persian Gulf squeeze that's going to hurt the IRGC more than anything to do with China and refineries, right? Is that the indication here?
So,
That it's a little bit on price, but like you were saying, the squeeze on UAE is what's really going to do the trick.
so what I think is they're both needed, right? So like if I want to use an analogy, is the squeeze on UAE means that if you have money, you still can't buy things with it and sell things, right? Even if you have money, the squeeze on China will mean that you won't have money, right?
Sounds
So
like a good combo.
yes, yes, exactly, right. It's a 1-2 punch. Okay.
Okay, so next is Noah.
Yeah, so I'm personally waiting and seeing what the reaction from the regime is going to be. I mean, I personally can't see them not doing anything. They're not going to stand still. So I'm wondering if they're just going to react militarily. Are they going to retaliate on U.S. bases, or are they just going to be like, oh, we'll just take it, and I don't know. um, but I'm just more wanting to wait and see at this point.
So within the Islamic Republic, there's two reactions right now, and what the reaction number one, which is the main reaction, is that this is going to kill us, and we need to find a way to get back to military operations. We need to go back to war because we can't just sit back here and just watch them suffocate us to death. um, we're not going to be able to survive this. And some people might think like, well, what the hell do you think you're going to? What makes you think you're going to survive a military operation? The answer to that is that their calculation is that the United States doesn't have appetite for major escalation right now. So the Islamic Republic is actually in a relatively good position, and relatively is important here, to try to inflict some cost, some pain to United States for the blockade. I mean, to be fair to the Islamic Republic, there is no good options here. This does make sense for them to want to escalate, right? Because the United States has figured out a way to cause maximum pain to the Islamic Republic without it itself paying a huge price for it, right? So the Islamic Republic has to find a way to make this economic isolation inflicted upon it by the United States costly to the United States. So, or if I don't find a way to make this costly for the United States, then I'm just going to sit here and die, right? So, what do I have in my hand, right? I have my proxies. They seem to be busy right now. I have my enriched uranium. I don't seem to have access to most of it right now. They're too deep underground. There is my there is the Strait of Hormuz. United States has figured out a way to regain control over it, and many ships are going through the southern route, and I'm enabled to stop the commercial ships. And one reason why I'm unable to stop commercial ships is because I can't see them. The reason why I can't see them is because United States was bombing all my radars for the past. You guys remember we were getting bored over. Oh my God, United States is bombing southern Iran again. Why? This is boring. Do something more interesting, United States. Well, now we know that because of all those bombardments, the Islamic Republic cannot see the commercial ships that are going through the Strait of Hormuz, and that's why it's making it easier for Americans to make them go through by just turning off their transponders. So that's good. So the Strait of Hormuz is not a huge leverage. So if I don't have my proxies as effective, if I don't have the Strait of Hormuz as a good deterrence, if I don't have my enriched uranium in my hand right now, the last thing that I have, well, I mean, I have missiles. My missiles don't reach United States. My missiles can reach Israel, but I'm scared of hitting Israel because Israel is scary and they're going to come kill my top commanders. My missiles could reach US bases, so I could shoot at them, but they're not going to have that much. They're probably going to be intercepted. But the most vulnerable thing that I could hit is the Arab countries' infrastructure, namely the most important, the most vulnerable ones that are defenseless, are that will cause the most damage is energy infrastructure, water desalination fallacies, and data centers of American companies. So that's what I. But the reason why I'm hesitant to hit them is because once I open that door, then the Americans are going to come and hit my infrastructure. The only reason why that's a big taboo that both sides doesn't want to break first. So this is the United States still hasn't hit, like, for example, power plants in Iran, and because if they know if they hit power plants, if they start that, then the Islamic Republic is going to respond by hitting infrastructure in the Arab countries. But that's the same calculation by the Islamic Republic. Like if I start hitting infrastructure in the Arab countries, then United States were like, okay, well that was your last card to play. Now that you played it, there's nothing that stops me from coming and hitting your power plants. And so that's why the Islamic Republic is kind of hesitant to go there. But this is the calculation that both sides are making. But the Islamic Republic has to find a way to try to make this isolation that is being put in costly for Americans, and it needs to find a way to do it before the midterms because it thinks that it doesn't want to do this based on President Trump's schedule. If the timing makes sense better for the United States to do this after the midterms, then we should do it before the midterms because that would be more costly to President Trump. but they're running out of time and they don't know what to do, and none of the options are ideal. Does that answer your question, Noah?
Yeah, it does. I'm also wondering if it could also be like to also buy more time so we could like, build up our munitions and stuff. But yeah, those are all good points. Thanks, Armin.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up is Rebecca.
Hello. Just a quick note on China. By law, in any Chinese company, there is no separation between government, military, and private. Once a company is big enough to have a board, they are mandated by law that a member of the CCP has to be on the board so that the CCP can micromanage and dictate anything that goes on in that company. So the military and the government can use any Chinese company for whatever they want. In the case of Iran, due to the situation, any company that's involved there is going to be micromanaged by the CCP. So they're definitely involved with everything Chinese going on there. Everything.
Okay, great. Next up is Jose.
Since this conversation really started about the oil prices, let me give you 4 prices that I'm seeing right now that came up when I asked for major global benchmarks on crude oil prices per barrel. The highest is Brent crude at approximately $94 a barrel. But it's interesting because it's saying this is the international pricing benchmark extracted mainly from the North Sea. I find that interesting because of the other 3. The next highest is the OPEC basket at around $91, which is the weighted average price from OPEC member countries. Okay. After that is Dubai crude at $88 approximately, pricing benchmark for Middle Eastern crude exports to Asia. And then WTI crude for West Texas Intermediate, that the stuff that Trump calls the sweet crude, light sweet crude, between $86 and $87 a barrel. So I'm wondering if the prices that we're seeing are just reflecting the Brent crude that they were talking about, and not necessarily the other elements. Because I would expect that China and India are getting the Dubai crude price. Because why would they pay 91 when they can pay 88 from the same area?
Thank you. Kathy, you're next.
So I have 2 clarifying questions. The first clarifying question I need is how is us at a ceasefire right now? I thought it was hurting the Islamic Republic more than it's hurting us, but how would it kill us? I just need a clarifying question there. And I also was under the assumption that any money collected for the Islamic Republic is being placed in an escrow by the United States. That's still the case, correct?
So what was the first question? Killing. Can you clarify the question?
Well, we're in the middle of a ceasefire. I was
Yeah.
under the assumption that it was hurting the Islamic Republic more than it's hurting us. But you had said that not going at war would kill us. How? I would like to know just for a clarifying question, how would it affect us?
No, I was saying the opposite. I was saying is collapsing is destroying the Islamic Republic.
Okay, then I misunderstood you.
Yes. No. So no, actually, I said United States has found a way to put a lot of pressure on the Islamic Republic without much cost to itself.
Gotcha. I misunderstood you then.
No worries. What was the second question?
Any money being collected that the Islamic Republic is getting from the oil, it's still going into an escrow account, right?
No. That was when the blockade was removed. Okay. When the blockade was removed, then anything that went um, through the Gulf of Oman, and was sold, that money was going through an escrow account, right? But the blockade is
Right.
back on, so they're not selling anything through there. Anything that they're selling it through land routes and other ways, and they're trying to
I
collect money
understand
from
now.
it. Yes, yes, and they're trying to collect money for that through secret ways, like for example, crypto stable coins. And Scotty B is trying to close every single one of them, right? So, but anything that they're collecting right now is not approved. So that money that went through the escrow account, that was approved by United States. Anyway, any money that they're collecting right now for through land routes is not approved by United States, and they're trying to shut it down. Does that make sense?
Understand. Yeah, I understand you now. And God, I love Scotty B. Hopefully he's successful. I'm sure he will be.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yeah. He's doing amazing.
Okay, next is Sherry.
First of all, thank you very much, Jose, for the information that you shared with the gas prices, et cetera, or the oil prices. Second of all, yes, I have changed my name, but you most certainly can still call me Sherry. Or if you need to type it out, it can just be EC. And the avatar I'm using is in remembrance of 9/11. But my comment was I agreed that I think Iran is just waiting for the midterms. They're trying to see if they can survive through the midterms and see what happens.
Yes, and I think that you're right, and I think that's a miscalculation, because there was this understanding by the Islamic Republic that if they could survive the midterms, after the midterms, the Democrats will stop President Trump, and his hands will be tied. Um, so I mean, my understanding, which might be incorrect, is that there's 2 months after the midterms that the Congress will still be the same Congress, and President Trump doesn't have to worry about any votes at all ever again, right? So this would be the most free President Trump has ever been in those 2 months, right? That no, but also even when the new Congress comes, it gets in, I'm not sure how limited President Trump is going to be. Maybe it has been an exaggeration. Some people are suggesting, again, I don't know, but some people are suggesting that the budget and everything that has already been passed, and President Trump, like even with a blue wave, Congress will not be able to limit President Trump that much. I don't know, but it would be interesting to see. Some people are saying that the Islamic Republic it relied too much on Congress turning blue. But you're right. My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.